Cool. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hello. My name's Emily here on the Grand Prairie podcast. Mm-hmm. We have a pseudo-professional podcast member
very pseudo.
In our midst.
P on a pseudo, yeah.
In our midst right now. So if you want to tell the world, they already know, I'm sure, but tell the world who you are.
Hey, I'm Tyler Reese. I've been a police officer for 6 years here in Grand Prairie, and so I've been asked to stand in, and I'm excited today.
I'm excited today. Yeah, we don't really know each other very well.
I don't look as good as Nathan Bald. You know, we both got the ball game going on, but, you know.
It works.
Thank you.
Works.
I appreciate that.
And Kimberly freaking Parker. We have Kimberly freaking Parker with us.
It's good
today.
to be here. Yes.
I am a little taken aback that you don't have just like a key to the doors of the police department at this point in the game. Which everyone will understand why that is as we begin to talk. But if you want to hit us up with a couple of fun little announcements.
Some church, not church announcements. As you know, I grew up Missionary Baptist, so church announcements was my thing. Southern Baptist.
Oh, there you go.
Sister.
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
No, so, hey, y'all, if you want to be a police officer one day, if you want to try your hand at being a police officer, you need to go to grandprairiepolice.org, and there's a civil service test August 9th. Am I saying that correctly? August 9th, civil service test. Go ahead, get your push-ups ready. Get your sit-ups ready.
Run your mile.
Run your mile and a half.
Mile and a half.
If I'm correct, it's still a mile and a half.
13 minutes?
Right? I did mine in 10 minutes.
Ooh.
Quiet flex. Did mine in 10 minutes.
What's
Podcast
the requirement?
10 minutes.
The requirement is,
Damn.
It's 15-something. 15-something is what I'm going to say, okay? But you need to be striving for 10 minutes
10.
like your boy, okay?
10.
August 9th, okay? We have a civil service test, grandprairiepolice.org.
Cool.
Announcements finished.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was strong. I felt good. I feel
plug.
educated. Yeah, for sure.
I feel like I want to test again.
Ooh.
Again.
Again? Yeah, let's talk about that.
Do ya?
Again.
No, absolutely not.
No. Yeah. You kind of got a really good thing going on right now.
Yeah.
But before we get into all of that, tell us about Kimberly Parker. Tell us the origin story of Kimberly Parker. Kind of like Clark Kent, you know? That's kind of how I view you when I think Kimberly Parker. I think that there's like an origin story. So tell me a little bit about that.
No, because what I wanted to do growing up was be a solid gold dancer. And it didn't work out. Okay. So then I thought, well, I will do the next best thing. I'll be a flight attendant. So after I graduated, I went into the airline business. When I was old enough to be a flight attendant, I went to do that. Then I got laid off. And then I thought, well, I need to get a job where I don't get laid off. This is very frustrating. My parents were already police officers, cross-trained at the airport. They actually, the airport was built in 1972, and my parents started then.
Okay.
No.
And they retired from...
Wait, DFW? Or what airline did you fly with?
American.
Girl, me too. What class were you? Do you remember?
1991 something.
You're supposed to remember it's 1709 or
No, don't have a clue.
the date and then your class number.
Yeah.
For flight attendant?
Yeah.
You were a flight attendant?
Yeah, for like 6 months because I hated it.
Yeah, I didn't like the job at all.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
That's news to me. You were a flight attendant.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You wore the heels and the little scarf.
The heels in the terminal in flight. Remember, you had to wear the flats.
Yeah, you can't wear flats
in terminal.
in the terminal. You have to
Why
wear heels.
is that?
I don't know.
Image.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
A little bit of lipstick, scarf.
We also had to weigh a certain weight back then, and your hair couldn't be long. It had to be cut.
You can't. They wouldn't weigh you when I went through, but you had to be able to fit through a window, like a plane window, when you were doing like exit drills and stuff like that.
Now that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, you got to get through a window if the plane's going down.
I'll get through a window if that plane's going.
We get through anything we can. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, so parents did DFW. That's pretty cool.
So I had a pretty big influence there, and then I got on with Euless PD in 1993, and then I stayed with them for 25 years. And then during that time, I was married to a fireman, and our marriage lasted about 15 years. But as I'm going through this career and experiencing these different things, I thought, man, this is this job is killing me, but you don't understand how bad it's killing you because you're in the midst of it. And then after my divorce, I actually married a police officer who was a combat vet. And my heart really went out to the combat vets and what they experienced. And there's, can I cuss?
Yeah, you can cuss.
I mean, there's
Great question. What an insightful.
Yeah, you're good. Don't worry.
Thank you, Pastor. Anyway, super fucked up population.
Yeah.
My dad was a Vietnam vet. They were treated horribly, and my heart went out to the veterans. So I said, what I'm going to do as I move toward this career is I'm going to go back to school, become a social worker, and I'm going to work for the VA. And then we had a line of duty death. In 2016, Officer Hofer was killed, and our PD imploded. And it was Euless.
Okay.
And it was horrible. And then I realized how fucked up we were. It's not just the veterans, it's the profession. And I said, I'm going to do something a little different. I think I'm going to just include first responders and military altogether. So after the 25 years to the day I retired, I went in to work for a nonprofit, got a ton of experience working with military first responders, really good training through EMDR, and hit the ground running. And after that experience with the nonprofit, I stepped out and started my own practice just to serve military and first responders.
Yeah, for sure.
Was there like a certain point in time in your 25-year career with Euless where you were like, yo, we're messed up, like we're screwed? Or was it just a progression of, man, I'm coming home and I'm seeing these, I'm coping this way, I'm seeing other people cope this way? Was there like a pinnacle moment, or?
I think it was gradually, but I started thinking, why am I so angry? Like super angry a lot, hard to regulate emotions. Then I was married to a fireman who had a really bad call and experience, and he really changed, and I didn't get it. I was like, I don't know what's going on here. And just through the years, when you look back on it, I'm like, my goodness, this was terrible.
Yeah.
And I thought, how different a career would look if you stayed mentally healthy throughout it.
Right.
And not so broken at the end.
For sure. And within the 25 years, because you were a lieutenant, right, when you retired?
No.
No? What all did you do?
So I was in patrol for 4 years, then I went to the drug task force. I was attached to a DEA unit for 3 years. And then when I came back, I started working crimes against children, domestic violence, sexual assault, because Euless is small.
Yeah, very
so we
heavy
got all
stuff.
this stuff.
Yeah.
So for 10 years, I did that. Actually, that was the best part of my career because you really put the shitty ass people away.
Yeah.
And I had a great partner, Sal. I mean, it just made it a lot easier. I promoted out to Senior Corporal and then did like patrol, community services. That was my least favorite job. And then I went back to patrol and finished my career there.
Gotcha. Okay. So any officer, patrol, whatever the case may be, is going to see a lot. But to have the child crimes too, I mean, being a mom myself, I can only imagine like how people can do that job and walk away unscathed. Like that's a different type of crime that is.
And it
I
just
couldn't
doesn't.
do it. I couldn't be a child's crime detective.
Yeah.
It's something I
Oh my
couldn't do.
God.
But it has to be done.
Right.
Yes.
And I didn't mind doing it, but it did impact every piece of my life. I had my own kids. It affected me sexually with my husband because when you work sex crimes, like you think there's perverts out there.
Yeah.
There's perverts. I mean,
stuff
you can't even think of.
Yeah.
And it just really, really rewired my brain for different things.
Like, how could it not? For sure. So when you go through your degree and you go through EMDR training, were you able to kind of start to really like put the pieces together in doing those sort of trainings for yourself, or did it take some time in working with people to gain some of that insight?
Well, I actually was in a COPS conference, the Concerns of Police Survivors, and there was a therapist in there who worked a pretty big incident, and she was talking about EMDR, and I'm like, I've never heard of this. And so she says, well, I want to try this exercise, which is what we call Complace. And I was like, okay. I was sitting in the back. I half-ass did what she said, and I felt better. And I thought, oh, there's something to this. So after that, I really started exploring it, and I was in supervision. You know, it takes a long time to get completely licensed. So as soon as I could get through the EMDR training, which is pretty intense, and then you have to do a lot of sessions, I would do EMDR on anyone who would sit still long enough. You need a calm place, you need to process this, I'll do it, just to get comfortable with it. And then my experience with the nonprofit, I probably did over 3,500 EMDR sessions.
Wow.
So I got tons of experience with, I'm not afraid to EMDR anything.
Right.
And I'm not afraid to take anybody to where we're going to get healed and better.
Yeah.
So, and I did my own healing that way. So, you know, when you go through EMDR training, you're not going to get out. Like, you are going to have to process your own shit.
Yeah.
So they want you to start pretty small, not the biggest things, but the smaller things. And as I started processing the smaller things and feeling less heavy and less burdened and less angry, I thought, okay. And the girl that I didn't know her until the training. I said, can I pay you to just come to you and do the EMDR? And she goes, you got 2 weeks, I'm going to Kentucky. And I said, shit's on.
Yeah,
so
let's go.
for the next 2 weeks, I EMDR'd everything. And then every time you go through a training, you get to do something. So literally, I have process my life.
Yeah, for sure. And for those who don't know exactly what EMDR,
thank you. I was just going to say, I'm a layman. So
go into that and kind of explain how it works and why it's so great with officers.
So EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization reprocessing. In the 70s, there was a therapist. What she realized is memories could land 2 places in the brain. There's the adaptive storage memory where your memories go, and then there's a non-adaptive storage memory where they don't belong. It's actually your limbic system. Memories can hang in there, and then when they come up, they dysregulate the body. You have all these negative views about yourself. What she didn't know was how to get both of those hemispheres to talk to each other, because the adaptive side can try to say to the non-adaptive side all day long, you're okay, you're safe now. It's going, I can't hear you. I want to hear you.
Yeah.
And then when you go through enough negative stuff in your life, you tend to pick up lies about yourself that aren't true. I'm not good enough. I don't do the right things. And then that becomes your lens of the world. Once she later discovered waking up both hemispheres was as simple as the eyes moving back and forth. Because your eyes are attached to the vagus nerve. We need to calm the vagus system down. So people's eyes going back and forth was really calming. Once you can pull the memory up and your body is calm, it reprocesses. A little more complicated than that, but that's the gist of it. Yeah. And the brain knows how to do it. The thing with first responders, a lot of therapists don't like to work with first responders because they're just not comfortable. And to me, it's like, no, they're the easiest because when they show up, the wheels are off. Yeah. Their lives are fucked. So they are ready to do whatever you say. If I said, go stand in the corner on your head, they would do it because they want to know what the problem is. They want to know how to get better. And that's what we start doing the first session.
Absolutely. And what do you see with EMDR? Like, how is that so effective in the work that officers do and the traumas that they come in with when they see you?
Well, normally, if we have a memory that's stuck, we're able to reprocess it, at least my experience, in one session. So that memory is no longer a burden for you. And then whatever lie or thought you had negative about yourself, that's dissipated. So, of course, you can keep going. But not only do we get rid of the trauma within the job, we also got to process the bag of shit you brought through the threshold of the PD. And make sure that's not impacting you, because that stuff's really heavy to carry. So we get you healthy then, we get you healthy in the occupation, and then we keep you moving forward by teaching you coping skills. Hey, you're going to have another bad call, and when that happens, these are the things I want you to do differently. You know, one of the first things we do in EMDR, as I said, is there an image that comes with this memory? And normally there is, and I'll say, I want you to take that image and make it black and white. Because as soon as you can take color out of that sensory, it's desensitized. And they feel it right away. And I'll be like, okay, moving forward, the next time you have a bad call and it has a shitty image with it, I want you to do it the night before, the day after. Just hold that image and make it black and white and help the body start desensitizing that for you. And then if it feels like it's getting hung up for whatever reason, then you can come in, we'll process it out and keep going.
For sure. And just kind of a little bit of some background too with EMDR. You're sitting on a couch and some therapists will move their fingers back and forth to make your eyes move, and you track the movement with your eyes. Or most traditionally, I think people are using what are called tappers now. You hold them one in each hand. It's a small little like toggle type thing, and it vibrates back and forth. And it's not like electroconvulsion therapy or anything like
pain.
that. Yeah, it's a very light,
sensory
input, but that's typically how a session is done. You're processing, bringing up that memory or that image, and you're holding those tappers to let your brain do what it needs to do. And cops love it because, again, you're not like sitting on a couch talking about your feelings too for like 6 months at a time. Like, and it's a very, very quick release, and you feel a lot, like Kim said, a lot lighter, and that heaviness is kind of gone. So you're getting a lot more kind of bang for your buck in the sense that you only are having to really go a couple of times, but you're getting a crazy amount of reprieve and just lightness that you haven't had in quite some time. So cops love it for that reason too.
If you compare EMDR to like CBT, which is your cognitive behavior therapy, like we want to rethink the way you think. To have a new thought come in and processed, to say it over and over takes 1,000 to 10,000 times before the belief's there, because the body's still deactivated.
Yeah.
So with EMDR, the body is calm. So when a body is calm, it can't be angry, anxious, annoyed, any of those things. So you can see more clarity, more logic, less emotion.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm interested in as far as like are there any precursors an officer would need? Or I don't know, like instill belief systems or things that they brought in before being an officer that yield to good results with EMDR? Or is it, hey, this is something that anybody can do, any officer can do?
The biggest part of EMDR is trust in the process, because your brain knows how to do it, and you got to half-ass trust the person doing the EMDR. So usually if someone comes in and they're really dysregulated, especially if it's a recent event, I'll say, you want to go ahead and process it? And no one's ever said no. And I said, cool. And then we do it, and then they're like, okay, that's fine. So, I always ask about medication and things like that, but even if someone said, I don't know that I could do it, would you be willing to try? Because there's lots of ways to wake up the brain. Like, years ago, she figured out it just doesn't have to be the eyes. It could be bilateral stimulation anywhere in the body. So, after COVID, we couldn't be close to you and use your eyes or tap your knees. So they sold us this really expensive equipment that we could wake up your brain and push away. So the tappers, a lot of times I use headphones and they have bilateral sounds. So I'll use the tappers, the headphones, and then most of the time I'm coming in and out using your eyes every now and then, just to get that body calm.
Yeah. I think the last self-disclosure here, the last time I came and saw you and processed some shit, I went in for something very I was very much charged, like emotionally charged with it. And after we processed, I sat on the couch and I couldn't remember even really, I knew why I was there, but the details of the event, I couldn't remember. And I've done EMDR with other people before and done it in training when I went through my EMDR training, but that was the first time where I was like, oh, yeah, I feel totally calm. I couldn't remember the details of why I went in there.
And the memory doesn't go away.
Right.
It's just processed to where it needs to be, and it is just a memory. So if it does come up again, you're like, oh, that was a memory. It was sad. And you just keep going.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's not processed when the memory comes up, not only is it sad, but now I feel sick, and now I have this negative belief about myself. And then a lot of times people say, well, I've buried that down, or that's, I've compartmentalized. And I'll be like, okay, maybe we don't need to process it. But a lot of times, because there's not a lot of room on that part of the brain where the memories don't go, it's going to start barking back at you. Like, you're only going to be able to push down and compartmentalize so much. But the problem is it's not good at letting you know what's going on. When you're at your capacity, you could be on a call that wasn't that bad and you just lose it. I hear all the time, I've been on calls that are worse. Right. This was the last one. It's letting you know. You know, if you went out and got in your car and your car needed gas, a gas light will come on. When you got this stuff going on, you've got dysregulation, you've got anger. This is where things work really well, like alcohol, cutting, porn, spending, those kind of things. So we want to definitely get you out of those behaviors more into some adaptive behaviors.
Yeah,
and you can use EMDR for anything. We do it for OCD, we do it for alcohol. I will EMDR anything.
Okay. This sounds what I'm hearing is that this is just a way to file things in its proper place.
Right.
Does what you do in Forge and Valor, do you then go a step further and try to figure out, okay, things are filed in a proper place. How can we now, instead of processing, how can we now like live with this reality?
So how do we
that
move
we've
forward?
gone through this? How can we now put this in the grander scheme of, hey, you're a police officer and this is your job, is to be a part of these high intense, high emotionally dysregulated incidences. And so put them in their right place, but then how do we then
keep going
and go the farther, scheme of what we're doing here as police officers?
So that's a really good question. So, when you first come into session, the first session is just education and science, what's going on in the brain. Like there's true science about anger and all this stuff. So I'll be like, this is what's happening. And then as I'm telling you what's happening, I'm telling you how to cope and calm and what works. And then after you get that skill set, I do a trauma line, and it's real chunky. I'll say, I just kind of want to know your blueprint. So I'll say between the ages of 0 to 10, you grew up, were you a sibling, where'd you fall in the pecking order? Were you safe during those years? Did you have food, shelter, clothing, education, basic needs as a kiddo? Were there things during those years, 0 to 10, that didn't make you feel safe? And if you got exposure to domestic violence, drug and alcohol use by parents, sexual abuse, then they'll be like, yeah. And then I take you to junior high and high school. And one thing about junior high and high school is, when we turn 12, 13 years old and those hormones come in and change our body, what it does to our brain, our frontal lobe that's responsible for impulse, logic, and language, it breaks it down and it makes it weaker, because it's going to grow back stronger. But that takes about 12 to 15 years. So between the ages of 12 up to 24, 25, 26, you have half of a brain. So during those years, did you have your basic needs, and what did that look like for you? Because you're really navigating the world with half a brain. And then what'd you do after high school? Was there military? Were there deployments? Grief is another thing. I'll be like, anytime you lose someone you love and care for, you're going to grieve. There's no right or wrong way to grieve, but you can get stuck in the grief stage of anger, anxiety, and regret. And if you get stuck there, you're not grieving, you're in a trauma loop. So I want to make sure that you're grieving the person that you loved and cared for the way you want to, because if you're not, that's really heavy too. So it's kind of getting a big picture of, and a lot of times they'll be like, I don't know why I respond this way, and I'll pick that paper up. I'm like, I would expect you to definitely be responding this way.
Yep.
And I said, not only that, there's a thing called an ACE, which is an adverse childhood experience. The highest score you can have on that is a 10.
Score. Yeah, I've heard of that. It's like a list of things. And, yeah.
The average ACE score for a police officer is 6. So.
And what's the threshold where it's like, you got
10?
Okay.
Well,
10's the highest that you can get.
Oh, I'll give you this. If your ACE score is 6, 10 being the highest, and they'll never change, you can never undo those experiences. Statistically, you should be dead or in jail, or a first responder, because that's what we're seeing. They're coming in with about that amount of trauma. Not always, but sometimes. And then
that's amazing, because then you and my heart goes out to first responders so much, because again, like science and biology and stress of those adverse childhood experiences really puts you in a position where you do not have a long or a healthy life ahead of you. But then I think you've got people first responders, who are the resilient bred people who want to change the world around them because of the experiences that they had. And so that's why I think EMDR and just wellness in general is such an important and needed thing for this population because, oh my God, take a look at the resiliency factor that these people bring to the table and then give of themselves and continue to kind of put their body and their brain into these states where over time it can be a detriment to them for the greater good because they had those experiences growing up. Like amazing hearts that first responders have. So like we need to take care of that population because they give so much to everybody. And I think that's an amazing quality to have. So I always like to really hit on that when we talk about EMDR because you still kind of have your old heads and a bit of that culture of, it's still kind of stigmatized. If I go to therapy, I'm weak. Again, no.
No, if you go to therapy, you're the strongest person I know.
Yeah, you're continuing to be resilient and stay healthy and strong so that you can progress and do the job that you can do at a high level and retain all of the cognitive function in that frontal cortex that you need to make decisions and reason and plan and do all the things, and then retire and not die of a cardiac arrest in 3 years or suicide, right?
Yeah, because TMRS is counting on it.
Yeah. Like, let's keep everyone healthy and resilient while you're out doing the work that you're doing, and then get to retirement and enjoy your retirement and your benefits and all the things. So
yeah, amen. That's what I'm gonna say. Amen. That's good.
Amen.
That's
oh
good.
Wait, I still kind of got a cough. We went through that.
And it's not always the occupational piece because when you enter the career, you mentioned it earlier, like I want to make this world a better place. That's not going to happen. It absolutely not. This job is not going to love you back.
Right.
So you kind of got to go through that delusion of what am I doing?
Right.
And
that
then once you kind of rewrite, or 6 months. I mean, depending, you know. And then I'll be like, because some people will be like, well, there's really no calls that stand out. And I'll be like, it's okay. That may not happen. I said, really, I don't work as much occupational trauma as I do institutional trauma, meaning how is admin? How are my bosses?
Yeah.
And even if we have occupational calls, institutional trauma is always a piece of it.
Because that's not necessarily, like, nothing is quite in our control. But when you are in an agency where there is such an order and chain and all of that, when you are a peon, right, for lack of better words, the decisions that are getting made well with beyond your control, that can be really challenging, right? And that's kind of what you see, right, in just terms of
I see
common themes.
People that are promoted that don't need to be promoted, and they're trying to navigate law enforcement going through all these changes when they're not changing their direction. And it's completely frustrating for them.
Yeah, for sure. Because then it kind of goes against, like...
Well, the moral injury, too. Like, my safety shouldn't be considered inside the PD. But I train for the bad guy outside the PD. You don't train for the bad guys inside the PD.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But in therapy, we do.
Yeah, definitely. So hit on that because I think morale is kind of always a thing that is tough when you're working in law enforcement because of the shit that you see day in and day out, and then you're coming into a place where maybe you don't feel the safest, and hopefully your department isn't that, but in all reality, like, there's always going to be those perspectives there, right? So talk about that morale piece and what officers can do to kind of help boost their own morale and attempt to shift culture. Like, do you have any perspectives on that?
The best thing is control what you can control. Like, if you're trying to navigate someone's attitude or change their opinion, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to figure out how you can navigate this chaos in front of you. And once you realize that's where the control is, then that may be more helpful for you moving forward. Because the likelihood of these things changing anytime soon is not going to happen.
Right.
But really, you could go to work tomorrow with a completely different attitude.
Right.
And I always say it beats a real job.
Yeah.
And most of the time they say, I really like the job. And I'll say, then that's what we're going to focus on.
Yeah.
There's lots of things that don't work, but we also forget the things that do work.
Right.
You get paid well.
Yeah.
You have insurance.
Yeah.
Lots of time off.
Yeah.
Well,
not if you're patrol, but essentially, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
This is really good, really insightful. I'm interested in Fortune Valor specifically, but then if you don't mind, and then also before we get there, like if I let's say, so I've been a police officer for 6 years in patrol, all patrol. What would you say to a patrolman who thinks they have it together, who thinks they're A1, and let's say it's been 6 years? Like, what would a cell be for EMDR or therapy in general? It may not have to be EMDR. It could be, I don't know, occupational therapy, all the different forms of therapy out there.
Well, normally when they show up, they're not well. And before I see my client, they've filled out an assessment. So I know why they're coming in. Right. I know where their anxiety, depression, and their post-traumatic stress is. So I don't need them to tell me they're not well. I'm going to tell them they're not well.
But what about even beforehand, before we even get to the assessment?
So,
how would
just
you sell somebody
as a clinician talking with individuals, like if you're at a department doing a training and you've got that rookie in there, like, fuck this, I'm good. I would never need therapy or anything like that.
And that's the problem with rookie.
Yeah.
Laterals are like they know.
Yeah.
But usually when you're addressing rookies, they're like, that's not going to happen to me. That's not going to happen to me.
So what would be your approach?
All I can do is educate you, and then when the wheels fall off, I'll see you then.
Yeah. I love it.
Wanted to keep learning, man. Keep living. That's what mom used to say. Just keep living.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, and when we teach like CIT or mental health peace officer, but really CIT because we've got recruits in there. That's the biggest piece that I hit. It's like, do not tune out any of this information, because at some point in your career, you are going to wish that you at least took a little bit of time to listen and absorb what we're talking about and the resources that are available to you, because it will happen. It will happen.
And, if you've been I have veterans, 20-plus year veterans sit in front of me, and they're like, I won't know where to start, especially when it comes to occupational. And I'll be like, I want the first, the worst, and the last. And another good thing about EMDR is we don't have to process everything. I want to go in, I'm going to get the worst. And once you start pulling the worst, the little ones can't sustain themselves. So there's lots of healing going on in between session and EMDR.
And the really interesting thing about it, too, is after a session, some people, I think quite a lot of people, when they go to sleep at night, they will have wild dreams, and that's the brain continuing to reprocess. And I've had some sessions where afterwards it's like I literally left the office, and from the last thing I talked about, my dream just picked that up and just went through this whole movie, of playing it out. It's super interesting.
And dreams and nightmares, the only significance of those is the brain is trying to process something. So if you're having constant disruptions in sleep with a particular theme, then we've got something that we need to process. And you can just process having nightmares. I was going to say something.
Sleep is wild.
Have you had the can't shoot dream?
Yeah, Can't shoot, can't click my...
Can't pull that trigger. It's the heaviest trigger in the world.
Oh, my God.
Have you heard that dream before?
No.
Oh, it's a thing. I remember being in the academy. I remember being in the academy, and they told me I was going to have this dream, and that you can't. You have a threat in front of you, and you go to pull the trigger, and you cannot respond. It's the heaviest trigger ever, and I was like, yeah, whatever. To this day, I still have that dream.
Oh my God,
it's in
that
so
sounds
many
terrible.
different circumstances and instances.
Because until you know, you don't know.
Yeah.
Because we're trained to do it, but until you have to do it, you
is that what that is?
Just don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
It's a crazy dream.
Yeah.
And sometimes I recognize I'm having that dream, and I pull hard, and that mug.
Yeah.
And one of the saddest things I hear officers say once they start to get better is, "Wow, I thought I was just going to have to live my life the way it was. Like I thought I had to put up with the nightmares and the temperament and no, that's the saddest thing for me to hear is no, you're here because unfortunately the profession is going to put you here, but this is not where you have to stay."
Yeah, absolutely. And just the reality is, I think our society and just in general, we kind of make health and wellness and brain health and, you know, all those things a lot more complex than they really need to be. And we throw a whole bunch of different options out. And I think it's kind of, you know, just overgeneralized with a lot of different things that you can do to achieve wellness, whatever that means for you. But the reality is with things like EMDR, it works on such a neurological base that your brain, again, is already wired to do it. And so it makes me sad to hear that people, you know, feel that way, because it really can be such a simple practice to put into place with, you know, processing through what you need to process through, maybe some maintenance down the road, and then working through those, you know, those maladaptive thoughts where your brain kind of has wired the script of your perception of the world and yourself. And all of which can feel really heavy and can feel like a lot of work, and certainly your brain puts a lot of work into processing through that, and then staying on top of, you know, making sure you've got the best narrative for yourself that you can. But again, like, pretty simple practices to put into place that we really make very difficult in achieving. And so I'm always so excited when people go and try it for the first time, because it's a sense of relief, like, oh my God, that shit actually worked. And it wasn't that difficult for me to go do. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm being sold a little bit. A little soft plug for the EMDR.
It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. It's kind of like a brand name, Kimberly Parker, around here. You've done amazing work for folks in the city. So I'm so glad that she's here. Like, she's the love that we have for her, because you keep people healthy and you keep people.
It's an honor, and your mental health team is really good, because y'all are always working to keep the cost out of the way. You know, officers will buy big trucks and they'll get tattoos all day long. They're not paying for mental health. They're not doing it.
Right.
So, you know, if they don't have to pay their copay, or, you know, most of your critical incidents are covered anyway, like, don't worry about cost. Just get better. And that's what your PD is telling you to do as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really think, for the most part, like, we have really lucked out in the environment that we're in, because
most definitely.
Yeah,
most definitely.
It's not a taboo conversation to have around here. And that's taken time, of course, and we can always progress and expand that. But I think it'll be interesting as we start to get some of these newer generations in. Have you seen any trends, like with Gen X and millennials or whatever they are now? Have you seen
They're just
a difference?
more open to the therapy. But one thing I do see with them is they really qualify my PTSD, my anxiety, and I'm like, no, those are symptoms. You're not owning that. Like, mental wellness isn't a diagnosis. Mental wellness is, how do I manage life with these symptoms?
Yeah, for sure.
That's real good.
For
And
sure.
don't weaponize it. You know, yes, you may have this going on right now, but you can't turn around and weaponize it. You know, well, I'm an asshole because of these experiences.
Well, I mean, we grew up with participation trophies, so
It's ridiculous.
I don't, you know, that is what it
Small
is.
little jab, but I'll take it. I'll take it. No,
I'm a millennial too.
are you?
I got participation trophies. I wasn't a sports girl, so I got
Maybe
a lot
that
of
was just
participation.
in your neck of the woods. We didn't get participation.
No?
trophies. Not where I'm from. Not where I'm
No.
from. And we didn't want them.
Well,
We didn't want them. I wanted that the real trophy, the first place. You know.
when I was on the fire breathing dragons soccer team at 5 years old, picking flowers,
What a name.
holding hands with my friend Caroline up and down the field, they didn't really know what to do with me, so they gave me, hey,
What a day.
you showed up. Good work.
How did Forge and Valor get started?
When the nonprofit was pulling away from the counseling piece, I'm like, well, I'm going to take myself and the best therapist here, and we're just going to start our own business. And then my husband and I sat down one day, and we just created the name and moved forward. It was like a God thing, because trying to find office space was horrible. And the lady that does my eyelashes, she was like, oh, I got this place for something, and call this lady. And within 2 weeks, the lady had showed me this office, and I'm like, okay, well, how much is this? And I think she said $700. I thought, well, shit, I can afford that myself. So like if no one wanted to come with me, it would still be doable. But I had 3 other therapists come with me, and it's been great ever since. And at first we thought, well, we'll expand. And I'm like, no, it's too hard to find culturally competent therapists for the first responder. So our core little group is real solid, and we're not looking to add to it.
Were they prior law enforcement?
One is a retired parole officer.
Okay.
One is married to a veteran, and her father's a firefighter. And then the other one pretty much ran from the law. But she has a very good perspective.
I mean, they all connected. Yeah.
She married a Marine, so it all just kind of fell
connected. That's a good one.
And then our former Sydney Frizzell.
Yeah, Sydney.
You know Sydney Frizzell?
I know the name.
Alan Frizzell's wife. Anyway, she retired dispatch. So
From here?
Yeah, she's working with them too. Awesome. So they get it. Because again, you can't take like a baby clinician who has never really had much issues going on personally in their own life and then stick them in front of an officer.
Yes,
and have that officer unload their trauma.
Yes, tough.
Because that clinician's going to cry, and then you've ruined therapy for that officer going forward. So we are very, very careful about who we send our people to, and their agency is the most trusted agency with our folks and with the things that y'all bring to the table, because they get it, right? They can have those conversations and understand, and you can say fuck all day long and they're not gonna like get offended by that. So yeah,
That's good.
And if you finally get the courage to reach out to a therapist and then you get in there and it's awful, I don't think you're going to try that experience again. And my husband kept running into that over and over between the VA, like sitting in front of therapists where they just couldn't handle the information coming out of his mouth. And I was like, okay. But that's also really important as a trauma therapist. Like, you've got to learn to keep yourself calm, because you're going to hear a lot of horrible shit and you just can't wear it.
right,
Yeah.
right,
So I breathe when you breathe.
right, absolutely. Because
And
that's
you have a
big thing.
therapist too, right?
Yes.
She's my therapist for the most
Oh,
part.
really?
Yeah.
That's dope.
I love this bitch so much. Yeah, she's amazing. She's amazing. So, talk about that piece for yourself too, because it is a really, when you're working in the mental health field and you're seeing people, especially those with complex trauma, and officers are certainly of the highest of that at times. It can weigh, and it can be really hard when you're stacking your day full of that kind of energy. So what kind of practices do you have to kind of help alleviate that? And,
So physical movement.
yeah.
Bentley and I go to the gym in the mornings, and then during the day, what's easy for me is I know how to stay calm during that processing and hearing what's ever in front of me, but I also know what's on the other end. So however horrible it is, there's going to be a great other side for you. So it's just like riding the wave with them. It's just a wonderful experience. And if I have, of course, I see animal control people, so those fuck me up the worst.
Yeah.
And usually I know when I've processed something that is not where it needs to be, then I'll usually go home, and I know enough, like I can help process it out my body enough, or I scream and cry for a little bit.
Yeah.
But all very...
one or the other. Absolutely.
That's good.
Absolutely. And you got your hubs. And he just a bright little light. Oh my goodness.
He's an Irving officer, and he has ADHD that anyone could diagnose. Helen Keller would know this man had ADHD. So
If you ever want a party to like elevate to a different level of energy, you just call her husband, and he's there, and immediately it's...
My daughter's the same way. My daughter's the life of the party.
Yeah.
And then she's at the party getting everyone turned up, and then her mind goes somewhere else.
Yeah. That's pretty much what happens with him for the most part.
Yeah.
Little squirrely.
yeah.
Lot squirrely. Yeah.
But those same symptoms that drive you crazy are also the same symptoms that make him fun and
Yeah.
adorable.
Yeah, for sure. So let's kind of touch on retirement and why we see that after so many years of retirement, we see, cardiac arrest, suicide, whatever the case may be. Because I think that is a really important, milestone and transition, especially for law enforcement. Can you kind of speak a little bit to that transition and how that can impact positively or negatively on mental health?
Well, I think through the career, you're just wanting to get there. You have no plan for what you're going to do when you get there.
Wow.
Like you've had mission and purpose for 20, 25 years, and tomorrow it's over. And then, you're going to miss the clowns. You're not going to miss the circus. But, over the next 2, 3, 4 months, that's really going to dwindle down. And you're not going to be in contact as much with the people. And it's a grief. You've closed a chapter to something, and then now what? Yeah. And all the older officers I worked with, they'd have a clock. I got 30 hours, and I'm like, okay, good. And then like 6 months later, they'd be out at the front desk. I'm like, I thought your fucking ass was out of here, never coming back.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I got bored, didn't know what to do. It's the only place I can make $18 an hour.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So
just the way you put that was just like eye-opening. Just even now you think about it, everyone has a clock on when they're going to retire. Everyone has a plan on retiring one day, right? But it's like, okay, buddy, did you plan afterwards?
Right.
Like, there's much more life, or you already accepted this is the life.
Because we generally start young, and then we can retire young, and then what?
Yeah.
Because when I was 23 starting, when I was 23 thinking about, I'm 56 now, I thought I'd be dead in my 50s. Like, I didn't even plan. That was just so old to me. And I'm like, no. Like, I think we do a disservice to the officers not preparing them for retirement. Yeah. What's your next, the mission has changed, and what do you want it to look like?
Absolutely. Well, and we talk about this as, because there really is such a strong brotherhood and sisterhood in police work, right? You can oftentimes isolate yourself to having your circle be just law enforcement, and then you kind of just
100%,
become the badge, right? Like that becomes your identity. And there could be some, it's positive to have pride in your work and close relationships with the people you work with, especially when your life is on the line. You need to be able to have closer relationships
100%.
With the people on the streets with you, right? But when that's all your world becomes as law enforcement, that shrinks your world down significantly, right?
And then you retire from it.
And then you retire, and it's like, what do I have left? Like, my life has no meaning or purpose, and that purpose piece is so important as people, transition to that retirement. So I'm glad that people are kind of starting to put more of an emphasis on preparing their people before retirement. But I think there's a lot still that needs to be done there. So I'm curious to see in the years kind of what that will look like and how that will benefit our guys who hang it up. But any thoughts on that? Like just what we could do as departments to help kind of prepare our people better for retirement?
It'll just be down to education.
Yeah.
And then because again, they may think, well, I may not have that experience, but I promise you 3 months into it, you're going to start feeling that.
For sure.
And then the years of shift work and the wear and tear on the body, the body truly does keep the score. And you have a lot of gut problems, heart problems, and that's all going to catch up with you.
Yeah.
So my best advice would be when you retire, what are you going to do then? Really have a plan and purpose. Yeah. And really, in law enforcement, you should have a plan B anyway. You're one injury away from not being able to do the job. Yeah, so what else am I good at? And that's another thing. Well, I don't know what I'd be good at. You do a lot. Maybe traffic guys, I would minimize what they can do. But most officers are very well-rounded.
Oh, man, I love it.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's good. That's how you know she's been a cop.
Yeah, that's real. That's real.
I love it. Yeah, for sure. Well, and again, you put in practices to take care of your people and to take care of yourself from the moment you walk into the academy to carry through your entire career, so that you're not walking out inflamed and diabetes and cardiac issues and depression, anxiety, drinking problem, 3 divorces in, we put in practice what we can to sustain that health in that career, so that when retirement comes, that transition isn't so obvious and scary. And
because you're really decompressing from always being on the go.
Sure.
And that takes about 6 months for that body to really slow down.
Sure.
And then even though it's healthier, it's very foreign. So sometimes that's a struggle too. And also getting healthy in the process, you know, people come in and be like, yeah, it's just weird because I feel different. And I'll be like, yeah, you're healthier, but it's not the devil you know.
Yeah.
So the next transition is learning to be okay with that.
because they spend so long where chaos is the norm,
comfortable,
becomes comfortable, and they know it and they understand it, and that's the job,
Yeah,
right?
and then you just gotta deal with your own thoughts.
Yeah.
I can imagine after a time, if you never dealt with what you need to deal with, it's gonna be right there for you, waiting for you. It's not gonna go anywhere.
No, absolutely.
Like you said, body keeps the score, but then just the wear and tear, I'm guessing, on your brain, you all probably can put it in
Your back, your hips.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, absolutely. It's all good shit, man. It's all good shit. And it's exciting because, like, again, we have some resilient people and strong people, and normalizing the fact that your brain is a human brain that is going to react in a very normal way because of some abnormal and heavy stuff you are seeing. Normalizing that process so that people can kind of get past that stigma of reaching out when it's time to just do a little bit of maintenance on the brain is essentially what it is. Those perspectives, we could be looking at just a very, very different culture nationally in police departments, and I think we're one of the lucky ones to have that, and to
definitely.
continue growing that here. So, girl,
It's an honor.
I love you. You're amazing. What you do for our people is incredible, and I think the culture that we have here is in large part of the work that your team does to keep us all healthy and functioning at the optimal level we need to
We
to
appreciate
keep Grand Prairie safe. You're amazing. I love you.
Well, I love you back.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. I'm
Thank you,
blessed.
Kim.
Yeah, this was great.
So yes, you can come see Bentley and I.
I wish we had a camera to pan to Bentley now.
Yeah, he is.
Bring him up here. Maybe he'll like,
You want to come here? You want to come see mommy? You want to come see mommy?
Bentley, come here.
Come on.
Bentley.
Of course not.
He's like, no, I'm
it's
comfy.
comfortable. Yeah.
Sorry. I was
He said, "We
Typical
good."
dog. I love it. All right, we're out.
adios.